Welcome to the Truth Podcast. This is your host, Hany Rambod, and I am giving you what you guys want, which is Q&A. So I haven't done one of these in a very long time and pulled up from Instagram, and some of you also are sending me questions on YouTube. So thank you guys for adding in your comments in YouTube because it does help the algorithm, as well as being able to press that like as well as subscribe button. Make sure you also share. Because if you're tagging me on Instagram, not only am I going to see it, but other people see it, and then they throw in their questions. And many of you have the similar questions out there on training, nutrition, supplements, whatever it is. I'd love to be able to share that with you guys. So make sure you're sharing not only the pieces of the podcast that you like, but also if there's any of those answers to the questions that you want me to be able to highlight, I can go ahead and do that as well. So again, make sure you share. That's what we're doing. We're putting a lot of good content out there. And when you like and you subscribe, it also helps the algorithm so that other people see it. And if I see that there's a lot of engagement, I just do more and more of these. So, and lately you guys have been great. So you've seen me push out a lot of content lately. But let's go ahead and without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and open up IG as well as the questions that I saw on YouTube that the guys here at the office threw together for me. And we'll start off with question number one. Will I die if I do legs with you? Asking for a friend. Normally I don't always say who that came from, but that came from good old Jesse James West. If you haven't seen Jesse James West, he does a ton of skits all over YouTube, and he's got a very large channel actually. And Jesse actually did come in and train legs with me here at the Evagen gym and put him through a good workout. Didn't try to kill him, believe it or not, but I did push him pretty good. And a lot of people are asking me, so what do you think? Do you think he's natty or not? Well, guess what? I did come up with a conclusion to that. So go check out the video. By the time you listen to this, I'm sure it's going to be available. It's on the YouTube channel. And the good news, he didn't die, but he did feel close a couple times. And again, I did not do it on purpose. When I do work with these athletes, one thing I do want to be able to preface is the fact that I am not intentionally trying to hurt anybody. Even though it does look like it, a lot of people's taken old videos. It's one of those things where I really feel like people go nuts when I was training Andre and his legs are on fire and sometimes he wants to fall on the ground and he rolls around like somebody poured gasoline all over his legs. That is not the case. It is something that's painful. It does hurt. Legs hurt, calves hurt. Those are those body parts that you feel the most just due to the lactic acid that is just going on as you're training high intensity training, or if you're even doing high volume training, your legs burn. But is it something that I'm trying to intentionally do? Yes, give you a great workout, but not throw up, not trying to make somebody throw up. But does it happen? It does. Now, again, Jesse, go check out his video. The one I did with him, that should be live right now. And let me know what you think of that video. Next question. I've noticed that you've been working a lot with influencers. Okay. Going back to someone like Jesse James West. And let me know how you feel about working with them versus working with a top Olympia athlete. Good question from Will. So Will, it is very different. A lot of people ask me why, especially recently, I've been doing this. Well, being that I'm with YoungLA and I was able to meet up with a ton of influencers out there, the Trend Twins, Shizzy, I've been able to have the perspective of being able to work with guys who either have competed, maybe they're natural, maybe they're not, or if they are competing, they're competing in on a lower, more beginner/intermediate level versus most of my athletes that work at the Olympia level. And I do like working with people like that because I like to work with athletes of all different levels. And working with elite level athletes all the time is great, but being able to kind of give back to the audience who also can appreciate with watching, pulling out information and seeing how I maybe bring down the intensity a bit. Still working hard, but not at the same levels of somebody who is a major Olympia, whether it's an Olympia champion or a contender. is very different. So it's more in the lines of me working with, if I was working with an amateur that was coming up on a state level, and that's how I would be able to kind of compare it. So when I got to work with the Trent twins, everyone asked, "Oh, how was that?" And I think that I really went into it thinking that somebody named the Trent twins might come across as a bit douchey. And dude, it couldn't be farther from the truth. Mike and Chris are really cool guys. They're car guys, which make them extra cool. And as much as they are called the Trend Twins, they really don't lean into the, hey man, I'm going to go out there and take grams and grams of this and that. And to be honest with you, I'd love to do a follow-up video. When we were able to train, we got into some basics, biomechanics, some training, some intensity. But I would love to be able to get a little deeper into it, maybe even bring them on the podcast. So if you guys want to see the Trend Twins, another video, or have them here on the podcast, let me know. Because I feel like, again, many of you out there are maybe a little bit closer to a level of a Mike or Chris, i.e. the Trend Twins, versus somebody like getting Hany or Derek or C-Bum. Somebody you might look up to, but in terms of your personal level, like whether it's age, whether it's kind of where you're at in the competitive environment, I know they were thinking about actually getting on stage at some point, which would be pretty cool and interesting to watch and see how their journey is. But I look at it as that these guys that are doing this are very similar in some ways to reality TV. And when you look at whether it's Shizzy or them, or you see Max Lifts, I got to do a training session with him. These guys have a following, and they're fanatic following. Like tons of people showed up to go watch them, be able to come over and get autographs signed, t-shirts signed, whatever it was. And they have a hardcore fan base. And I feel like it's part of the ecosystem. It's the fitness ecosystem. So that's why I'm okay with it. Where some people go, oh, they don't compete, or they don't compete at a high level, or they're more entertainers. Well, that's okay, but they still love training. So what's wrong with that? Just because they have a big following and they didn't win a show doesn't mean that they're not bringing any kind of value. But as long as they're not doing anything maliciously, like giving out bad information, I'm more worried about people and quote unquote coaches that are out there that are giving out bad information, misinformation, regurgitated really shitty information, I should say, out there. That would pisses me off way more than somebody who's out there just living their life and, they're sitting there hugging their dog, going out with a girl, slapping each other because they're brothers. It's pretty entertaining, actually. So again, doing that. I know Shizzy, Coast Guard guy, very nice dude. And, Max Lift, I got to do a session with him too. And everybody out there that I got to meet, part of the YoungLA crew, were super, super cool, super nice. And again, tons of people came out and saw us. And I think out of the old guard, it was me, Ronnie, Jay, that were out there at the event. And I thought that it was really fun. It was really fun. So me being able to get to work out with them, train some of these guys, and they were really, really training hard. They were very into it. And they all have their different personality type, but they were all really cool. And nobody came across as arrogant, cocky, know-it-all. A lot of those things that most people think of these people because they just want to hate them because they're successful. And when I mean by successful, again, not on stage, but in terms of financially successful, because they have a really good audience that connects with them and they influence. So you know what? Good on them. And again, if you hate on someone like that, then something's wrong with you. So again, it's not about just winning shows and to make money around here anymore. It's about getting your content, connecting with your audience, and being able to give back to that community. So therefore, people will connect with you. And whether you're an athlete for Evogen or you're an athlete for any other brand, that's what people are looking to do when they're bringing on influencers. So some of them are competitive athletes, some of them are not. But the key is to be able to give out good information and be able to create that connection with your audience. So it was fun. So if you haven't seen the Trend Twins video, or if you haven't seen the Shizzy video, go check it out. I think the Max Lift video is probably out too, but if it's not, it's going to be out soon. But check it out. Those were great opportunities for me to be able to hook up with those younger guys and be able to share it with the audience, my audience. So good questions today. All right, let's see. Hany, what is your favorite back movement for width? My go-to for somebody who wants to build width, and this is coming from someone who says that he is a amateur bodybuilder who's done 2 shows. Well, whether you've done 2 shows or if you've done 10 or none, but you're just building out your back, a staple is pull-ups. So if you can do pull-ups, great. If you can't, then obviously pull-downs are great. But doing that exercise properly, arching your back, making sure you're starting with a wide grip, about shoulder width or just a little wider than shoulder width, overhand. Want to master that. Once you're able to master the pull down and you get stronger, then you do a pull up. Most of the guys that are really good at pull ups are people who are, whether it's guys or girls, that have a gymnastics background or they're just super upper body strong and they're maybe not as heavy in terms of overall body weight. They can tend to do pull-ups. And then you see a lot of those CrossFitters that go nuts and they start doing these crazy kinds of, pull-ups. I don't even know what they call them. They call them pull-ups, muscle-ups or something along those lines. And again, that's just more of a movement. But when you're really trying to build up your back, it's really about trying to create contraction. Start with a lat pull-down and then work your way to pull-ups. Then what I like to do is work on V-bar pull-ups. So what you do is you grab a V-bar and you put it up on the bar, and usually cable crossover machine, the bridge in between, and then you throw that on there. Some of the machines out there actually have that attachment where it's like a V-bar attachment. And then what you can go ahead and do is grab the bar, and then you pull your chest up and you arch your back. And what you want to do is you want to be able to get to a point where you're using your body weight. Now, again, if you're 230, 240, a lot tougher. If you're 160, 170 pounds or 150 pounds, it's easier. Now, the other thing that you want to do is really focus on trying to be able to work the different angles. That's why whether you use a V-bar on a lat pull-down machine or if you want to use a different grip. So when you're using that reverse grip, not only do you hit your teres, but you also hit a little bit lower and you get that really good contraction deep into that lower right around the left and right side of the erectors. So you get a great contraction there. Those are the main points when you say width. I like to go with a couple of different versions of a lat pull down / pull up. That's my go-to. So, Hany, how can I get a training program from you? Okay, guys. I probably get this question a ton of times a day when I go through my Instagram. Right now, I am going to be putting on basically giving you a link. So I am putting a wait list together for after the Olympia and everything else for people that want to come on board to work with me. Some of you are competitors. Some of you are going to be lifestyle clients. I am putting together a solution, but I am starting a wait list because there has been some people that have been waiting for many, many years to try to work with me. So I am going to put that link together. It's going to be a questionnaire. And what that's going to do is it's going to allow me to go through and see what the demand looks like in regards to whether it's competition, whether it's lifestyle, and I'll be able to get back to people. And for those of you that do need a little bit more of a, just one-time solution, then I can be able to figure that out as well because I am putting together a scalable model right now. So again, look at the link I'm going to be putting on this particular podcast so that you can go on to the questionnaire and put yourself on the waiting list if it's something you're wanting to do. So I think that just answered a bunch of people's questions. All right. FSC7 legs. Can I do leg extensions for that? Absolutely. Leg extensions is a great, great workout. FSC7 exercise. You can do it one of two ways. You can do it as a preload method, which you're using FST7 on leg extension for your first exercise. And again, you'd be in that 10 to 15 rep range and you're waiting 30 to 45 seconds in between sets. I would still do a warm up of a couple of sets before I went into 7 actual working sets. And once you're warmed up, a little bit of leg extensions, maybe doing a little bit of hamstring curls just to kind of get a little bit of blood in your overall legs, even some light body weight squats, or, getting in a Smith machine and throwing a plate on each side and working your way up and down just to try to get your knees warmed up, get your hips warmed up, get everything a little bit warmed up. Then a preload would be the first exercise. That's an FSC7 preload leg extension. If you want to come back and do a regular FSC7 non-preload, what you would do is you would do it at the very end. So the way that would work is that the last exercise, you'd be doing leg extensions in the same format. 30 to 45 seconds for rest. You'd be doing leg extension. You'd be really focusing on that. You've already done your hack squat. You've already done your squats. You've already done your front squats. You've already done your pendulum squats. You've done your leg press. You've done your vertical leg press, whatever it is. And for some of you, i.e. Hady, he likes to do them all. I mean, this guy is a beast. He's actually in the gym right now getting ready to warm up so I can be able to work with him after this podcast. But the key to take away for FSC7 legs is to start out with either a pre or reload, which basically means that it's either the first or the last exercise. The key to the first exercise is to create a better pump going into your compound movements. So they both are very beneficial. The other way to do it is to go back and do it the traditional way, which is at the very end. Either way, I would be able to, if you're really looking to be able to break a plateau, it's a great solution for FSC7, leg extensions, pre or reload. Reload's at the very end, preload's the first exercise. So, and then some of you say, can I do both? I have had people do both, but doesn't happen very often. But if you're ballsy enough, you can go ahead and try it. And if you were going to go ahead and do that, I would go ahead and start off with maybe a little bit lighter weight and making sure you work your way up. Let's see here. Next question. How to restore gut health after a show, from Delphi Rayfit. Okay. The key to how to restore your gut health after a show is to actually try to keep your gut health into your prep. So how do you do that? You make sure probiotics work absolutely amazingly well. Use your favorite brand. I make one, the DR30, which is 30 billion CFU on mine. It's shelf stable. I don't think people understand how important it is to make sure to keep your gut flora dialed in right. Keeping a probiotic in helps tremendously, especially if you've taken an antibiotic recently, because it kills your good gut health. Even though you're killing your bad bacteria in your body, it could be, some type of skin lesion that you took or you could have had a chest cold and they gave you some Biaxin or a Z-Pak, or is it, any kind of antibiotic. Systemically, it goes around, and not only does it kill your bad bacteria, but it can kill your good bacteria as well. So remember, when you're trying to keep your gut health going, it's really important that if you did take antibiotics, that you do a probiotic to help that. Now, to take it a little bit further, there are things like prebiotic fibers that you can also add in. Greens also help. And by making sure that you stay hydrated and make sure that you're doing regular cardiovascular work, especially in even the off season. I mean, obviously you're going to do it for pre-contest, but putting all of those things together are going to help you with your overall gut health. Putting in digestive enzymes, many of you already know, digestive enzymes help tremendously well. And also, do not overseason your food. People who overseason their food, especially when they're dieting, and tend to destroy their gut. And you end up having acid reflux. You end up having a lot of different issues. That can really give you a lot of literally heartburn, pardon the pun, but it really can make a huge difference. So keep the spices to a minimum. And salt and pepper tend to be good, but when you start getting into these exotic cayennes and you get into some of these different spices that have huge amounts of pepper and capsaicin in them, different types of things that are going to maybe taste good for that one meal, if you're continuously doing it, you can really beat up your gut. That can cause some problems. The other thing that can cause problems with your gut is when you're taking your supplements and you're not drinking enough water. That can also cause some acid reflux as well. So make sure you're drinking plenty of water. Don't take your supplements and go straight to sleep, because you're going to end up having a bunch of heartburn. So be careful of that. So make sure you're taking your supplements before, like a timely manner, 45 minutes to an hour before you go to bed. And you're not just taking a bunch of pills, just taking a swig of water and then going down to lay down. Because anybody who's done that knows what I'm talking about. You're going to end up feeling like you're going to either burp it up, throw it up, or it's just going to give you a crazy amount of heartburn. And you don't want any of that stuff. So make sure you take care of your gut when it comes to the entire spectrum. So whether it's taking any of supplements, whether you're making sure you're taking enough fiber, make sure you're taking, your probiotics, your digestive enzymes. And then the other thing is, like, these other seasonings that you got to be careful of is the garlics and the onions, right? So garlic and onion powder, as much as, it's great because you want to be able to make things taste better, it can definitely throw your gut for a spin. So make sure you watch that. I really, really try to get my athletes to minimize any of those things getting ready for any kinds of shows. So again, if you set up your gut properly before, you're not going to have as many problems afterwards. When people do have problems afterwards, it's because you're also adding in cheese, you're adding in fried foods, you're adding in all this shit that you didn't have during your prep. And now your body's trying to process it. So it's like going from 100 octane gasoline into your race car to some kind of, discount. Rotten Robbie was a brand that used to be up in California. I don't know if it's nationwide or not, and people would throw some crappy gasoline in their car and they wonder why they feel like they've lost 100 horsepower, because you're putting crappy fuel in. So it's no different. When you go in there and you're like, oh, my gut health is messed up. Well, it's not your gut health. It's the fact that you're putting in greasy fried food. You're putting in a shit ton of dairy. You're putting in tons of fats. Your body's trying to sit there and break it down. So be careful after the show what you're trying to reintroduce. So do little things and make sure you don't go overboard, okay? The pizzas and the mozzarella sticks and the beer and all of that crap, and then you want to turn around and say, yeah, man, my gut health was off. No, it's not. It's just your diet's all fucked up. So fix that. All right, next question. How can we get to your services as a coach? I already went over that. What's my best feeling ever as a coach? I've had, last year was pretty amazing. Being able to have 1-2 in the world. I did have that with Jay and Phil before, both with Jay winning one year and then Phil winning the other year, 2010, 2011. And it's an amazing feeling. Last year it was Hany and Derek, and then in a couple of weeks it's going to be, another Olympia's coming up. It's a great, great feeling. Obviously with C-Bum, it was great. I mean, C-Bum had already won, but to be able to bring him in at one of his all-time bests and being about a part of that team, I feel very blessed. So that was a great feeling. But I've had other moments as well that were really, really good, where I've had multiple winners. Nicole Wilkins had won, Phil Heath had won. I believe Jeremy had won that one year, 3 of them together. Amazing weekends. All of those were awesome. It's just a matter of, believe it or not, for me, it's trying to get to a situation very similar to last year where everybody feels like a winner, right? Hady had been, top 3, top 4 for several years since he started, competing in the Mr. Olympia competition. So for him to be able to get that crown was amazing. Having Derek the previous year win the 212, but now, last year at his first Olympia being top 2, that was amazing. And then Chris being able to repeat and being a part of that was all, again, those were mind-blowing moments for me. So when you tend to try to do things at the level that I'm trying to do them at personally, this again, when I say me, I'm talking about, like, it's about trying to get everybody to feel like they accomplished their goal. And I felt like last year was that. So for me, last year was very, very special because there wasn't a major outlier, right? Opposite to that, 2009, I had Jay. And Jay was like, wow, one of his best ever. Some people say 2009, some people will say 2001, but it was a big, big deal because nobody at that point had ever lost and won again. And it was a great feeling. But I couldn't help but be able to sit down and say, Phil had gotten sick that weekend and he was thrown up the night before. His food wasn't digesting properly. And I still felt, even though it was great to be a part of Team J, but in 2009, Phil had basically dropped down to 4th or 5th place that year. And believe it or not, I believe, yeah, it was, I think he lost to Kai by 1 point that year. And it was a pretty shitty feeling, even though I was really happy for Jay and came out with one of his best looks ever, the foot stomp, and being so just being able to just even be there, let alone be a part of the whole process, was very, very amazing and very, again, I use the word blessed because I feel like, God's blessed me with being able these opportunities. And it was just really, really mind blowing for me, but it really hurt that Phil couldn't be in that top 2. And so my goal was to try to get him in there the next year. In 2010, Jay first, that was his 4th Olympia title as in 2010. And then second place was Phil Heath. Again, some people thought it could have went either way. I do think it was close, but Jay did win, deservedly so. And then in 2011, it was a flip-flop. So I had a lot of amazing moments. So when I say where was my best feeling, what was the happiest moment, there's been many. So I don't dwell on just one, but I would say is when everyone feels like that they really won, whether they did or not, but they felt like that they really came in their all-time best. That's when it's always the best feeling. So good question. All right. So we have, here's a tough one here. How can you always be your best? Is it just by hard work? Well, I think everyone has to think of it a certain way. I'm going to give you my perspective on this. It's really about trying to be your best is really about also balancing what it's about. And that's something, again, I'm constantly working on. I'm not perfect. I do sometimes get really out of balance. During preps, it's especially hard. I have to, luckily I have a very supportive wife. Even my son now, is supportive at 10 years old and understands when daddy has to come home late because of the fact that Evagen, athletes, photo shoots, podcasts like this one, all of the things that I got to take care of and do. So for me, I have to try to continue to work really hard, but in spurts, and then also make sure I can continue to balance my personal and my professional life, because so much of my professional life is personal. So my best friends, are in this industry. I have people that I've been friends with for many, many years that I was introduced at the gym or in, as clients. Phil Heath has been a very close friend of mine for many, many years. It's beyond just was a coaching relationship. Ronnie Coleman, who I never coached, but I coached his girlfriend at the time, 20 years ago, and we became really good friends. And he lives a half an hour away and was just here training at the gym a couple weeks ago. Those relationships are amazing. So it's a matter of me trying to balance out my life. That's how I feel at my best. So it's about trying to be able to do that. And now being here in Dallas, it's been really nice because now with many more things under one roof, I feel like it creates a lot more actually efficiency now. So I got the podcast studio. I have my lab where I can work on all my supplement testing and everything else that comes in, be able to test everything under one roof with my team, whether it's flavors, whether it's products, or anything I'm working on in R&D, walking into the other room, seeing how the pumps, the fullness, the recovery is after training really, really hard, having this amazing Canada-based gym where I got all of this awesome equipment. All of these things make me happy. So it's about performance balanced with happiness. So again, it's about work and family for me. So it's about balancing, and it's really, really hard to do. Believe me, I'm still trying to learn it. Let's go to the next one. As a teenager who is gymming, what should I focus on the most? Form. When you're in the gym, learn the biomechanics, learn proper form, try to get with somebody who knows more than you do, especially if they don't have to be a trainer, but somebody who has been trained by a trainer to be able to perform squats properly and to properly be able to do shoulder press and chest press and doing these things, because you're going to reduce your risk of injury, and you're going to also be able to focus on really taking your physique to another level as you get stronger. So it's very similar to golf. If you learn a really bad golf swing, Again, and I'm not a professional golfer, guys. I just know because I had a lot of friends who played a lot of golf in the Bay Area. And if you've got bad habits, they're really hard to break. Gym is very, very similar. Gymming, we call it now, is when you go to the gym and you're just working out, you got to learn good, proper form. If you don't have that, you're going to end up getting hurt and you're going to end up being out of the gym and you're going to make yourself miserable and frustrated. So try to get those biomechanics, get the exercises down. Don't be afraid to ask for help. I don't know anybody nowadays, and I'm sure there's somebody out there and there's going to be some stories about assholes out there that if you ask them, hey man, can you show me how to do this? That somebody's going to be a jerk. But most people are more than happy to turn around and help. So if you see somebody who looks like that they know what they're doing and you want to ask them, hey man, how do you do that exercise? And it could be like, let's say it's a cable fly and you feel like you're kind of not doing it properly, but you see somebody who looks like that they're doing it the right way. Or you turn around and you watch one of my videos and you say, hey, look, I see somebody doing a certain style, but they're there and you can ask them a question and say, hey, like I saw Hany or one of his clients or somebody I follow on YouTube do that exercise, but I see this guy doing it, but I seem to not feel like I'm doing it right. You can ask them, hey man, can you watch my form and just tell me if I'm doing something wrong? I guarantee you 9 times out of 10, they're going to turn around and help you because most people are inherently good. They may be in a bad mood once in a while, and that's when you get into a bad situation. But for the most part, people are inherently good and people inherently want to help others. So again, I would definitely ask someone who is either a trainer or somebody who knows, it looks like what they're, they know what they're doing for help, because especially if you're a newbie, don't be afraid to do that. All right. Last question. One thing bodybuilders should check if they plan on wanting to use PEDs. Okay, this whole PED thing. Let's see, from Daryl. Okay, Daryl. So if someone's considering this, and I've talked about this and I've touched on it several other times, what you want to do is you want to start off with blood work. Get your blood work started. And hopefully you have an understanding doctor that you can sit down and talk to, because if they're a cool enough doctor, they're going to notice that you're going to do something whether or not that they like it. But if you are trying to proactively get blood work done, you're going to be able to do a baseline test, because you may not know until you do that test that you have some underlying conditions. Now, it could be fatty liver. You could have some issues with your kidneys. There could be a multitude of issues that you have. But if you don't have baseline checked, that's going to be a problem. And try to share and try to hopefully you will have a doctor that's a bit understanding. They may try to talk you out of it, and some people are going to inherently do what they want to do anyways. But I would definitely, like I tell everybody, wait till your mid-20s if you can before even making that decision. Try to max out as much as you possibly can naturally so you can be able to hit your genetic potential. Then you can turn around and focus on, hey, look, if I do decide to do this, then talk to your doctor, get some baseline tests done, make sure you don't have any underlying conditions. And then at that point, you still got to try to figure out all of the other things that go along with it. Like, where do I get, is it my stuff real? Is it dirty? Am I going to be getting, God knows what. So that's a whole different set of circumstances and a whole other conversation, but get your baseline checked. Make sure, hopefully you can find, your doctor is cool enough to be able to talk to, and max yourself out naturally. So again, guys, Hany Rambod, thank you for all the amazing questions. Again, do not forget, like, subscribe. And one other thing I do want to let you guys know is that I did update the FST7 app with a progressive overload training program. So for those of you that were asking when another new program is going to pop up on my app, it is live. So if you like the app, go ahead and give me a thumbs up and let me know also in the comments below. And I really appreciate all the support, guys. So both supporting Evogen, my athletes, as well as just bodybuilding in general. Hany Rambod, and that's the truth.